morning, everybody. It's Jean here. Today's Jean's Block Party 2019. We are on block 13 and 14 today. We're whizzing right along. I asked you last week if 2 blocks was okay, and seems to be okay. I've been getting lots sent into my webpage, truelovequiltsforyou@gmail.com. Beautiful, beautiful blocks. Really, really beautiful blocks. So block number 13. This week, my blocks sort of ended up like very carnival-y looking. I'm using this week my bright red and white, my bright reds and my bright whites, and this is block number 13. And it sort of looks like a carnival tent, which I quite love. My red and white. Flying geese units. Very simple block. Very simple, but very effective. 3 different fabrics. Obviously, as you're getting to know now, high contrast. For all 3. They don't necessarily have to be light and dark, but just so that you can see the triangle of the goose and then the wings here on the outside, which are the same fabrics. So there is our block number 13. I try to sort of fussy cut my stripe here. As you know, I like to use my stripe. And I have to admit, I made this and I followed the instructions of an older pattern I had, and it called for a 5-inch square. I did it really good, but it's not quite a 1/4 of an inch. And I don't address it when I made it. I'm like, oh, that's okay. And then I thought maybe you could. The instructions are to cut this 5 1/4. I mean 5 inches, 5-inch square. This piece here. Maybe you want to, if you're watching this, yeah, of course you're watching it because you're watching me. Before you get to the tutorial, to cut this 5 1/4, just a little bit bigger, and then you can always cut it down. Now I don't usually do that. I would have gone back or should have gone back maybe and done it over. I didn't. Whatever. It's fine. The point is I'm getting at is I just have to. I won't have, and I'll be the first to admit it. I won't have quite a 1/4 of an inch. I'll have to have a little bit more if I don't want to. If I don't want to cut my point off, and who cares about your point, whatever. This one's pretty good. This one's maybe a hair off. Again, it was just slightly too small. But I didn't do a do-over. It's pretty, isn't it? It's lovely. My back looks pretty. I ironed and I set my iron. But this is yeah, that's block number 13. I gotta keep remembering it's block number 13 because we're getting on there. Now I also show you block number 14, and again I'm thinking, what was I thinking? Again, very circusy looking, but it's only because I used a very bold dot. This is a basic 9 patch, but when you use your 2 contrasting fabrics, just 2, obviously you're going to have a darker and a light to get this. You'll notice here, there's a 9 patch inside the 9 patch. If you look carefully, again, it's very sort of I was like I said, very carnival-y this week. I like my bright dots and my stripes. They're happy. They're happy fabrics, and we all need happy. We all need some happy in our life. So there's our number 14, which again is just a simple 9 patch, which you've done in your sleep now. But it has a little 9 patch in the center unit there. So this block you're concentrating on a smaller cutting. But why am I talking about that? This is the block we're talking about. That's for the next tutorial. So this here, folks, is block number 13. Very simple. Very, very simple. And now that I think of it, you might want to cut, just write it down as a notation. You might want to cut your 4 5-inch squares at 5 1/4. You'll see what I mean when you go to sew them. So you really have this point here. My instructions are 5 inches. Cut them at 5 1/4, and then jiggery pokery it. Yeah. I'll leave that up to you how to get this point. If it turns out like mine, it's fine. It's wonderful. So that's block number 13. I want to thank everybody. Please like, subscribe, and all that stuff. And also, what is those? No, also, no, that was it. Also, that's it. Block number 13. I'm doing good. I'm doing other projects here, but this is our block number 13 for Jean's Block Party. I hope you love it. 2 flying geese. Easy. Okay, see you later. Bye. Here we are at block number 13. We're whizzing right along here. Block number 13. As you've seen, hopefully, in the beginning, I'm making a flying geese unit. Flying geese. And this block, let me just see if that's in the frame. Yeah, this block takes the three different fabrics. And I've already cut mine. And I'll show you what I've cut. For our... For the wings, I guess it is. The geese is the big, the pointy part. I'm not quite sure how that works. I have a contrasting fabric. I have the dark fabric on the outside, as you will have seen, and I have two brighter fabrics for my triangle. I guess the geese, the pointy bit. And so this is what this is. I have three different fabrics, fairly high contrast, with my dark on the edge. Fabric A, which is this lovely print here. I have cut one 5" by 9.5" rectangle. Okay, I did use this week. I'm using my bright red and whites. I did use a layer cake for this one here. I used a fat quarter for that one just to cut this. But I can get one 5" by 9.5" rectangle out of my layer cake. And if you want to, also for this piece here, another layer cake. 10" square. But for this one, I sort of, again, I'm sort of being able to use my stripe, which I love. I made sure my stripes are all the same size, so when I put my squares on, it's a nice look. Another one, fabric B, a 5 by 9.5" rectangle. Very easy block this week. And then my fabric C, I have cut 4 5" squares. So our first chore after we cut our bits is to take our 5" squares. We've done this, but this is going to make a nice block. What we're going to do is we're going to draw a rectangle, a diagonal line from corner to corner. Now, you must be careful when you're drawing a diagonal line, your ruler, and you want to make sure that your pen top goes right to the top, because if you put your ruler, and I didn't, it's a hair out, but if you put your ruler diagonal to diagonal, your pen mark will just be a hair smaller. So make sure it's your pen or your marker that is drawing diagonal to diagonal, if you understand what I mean. So it's your marker that is going diagonal to diagonal, right corner to corner. So I'm going to do those 4. So my ruler is diagonal to diagonal with just a hair to allow for my pen, allow for my marking. Again, I'm not a perfectionist, but I do feel if you do things, if you learn as beginners the basic proper ways to do certain things, well, it's not a bad thing, is it? You know. So here we are. My ruler is going diagonal to diagonal corner, but allowing for my pen to go right into that corner and make the marking. There we go. There you go. So now what we're going to do is, yes, okay. So now what we're going to do is we're going to take our either square. It's very, very simple what we're doing. What we're doing is our 5" square one way. Our 5" square is going to go with the diagonal line towards the center, from corner towards the center. Now, we are going to stitch, again, we are going to stitch on the line, but in this case, we've done this before, we're going to stitch onto the inside, because what is the unit we're going to be wanting to make? This is the look that we're going to want to make. Okay, so we're going to do 1 stitch here, but this week, because This is a fairly large piece of fabric here. Okay, this is a fairly large scrap. So what, if you want to do this, it's sort of optional. About 1/2 inch away from that marked line, if you want to, about 1/2 inch away, just make another line. And we're going to, you're going to see that we're going to create a 1/2 square triangle out of this piece here, if you want to use it for another quilt. It's just because we're going to cut this here, we're going to stitch on this line and cut this away, right? Like we've done. And that's a lot of fabric to waste. So I'm not going to waste it. I'm going to make another 1/2 square triangle, but I'll show you over at my machine what I'm going to do. So I'm going to just do one at a time, and then I'll take these over to my machine, and I'll show you how I'm going to proceed in making the flying geese units. I'm at my machine. Oh, you might notice that I'm using a different machine. I was doing a different project, and I'm using my old Husqvarna machine. This isn't my Juki, but that's for when I was doing my applique circles. So here I am. I've put my, I put this fabric C, my 5-inch square, over onto my rectangle, and I'm going from the center, as you can see, and I'm stitching. Remember to allow for that, we're stitching on this line, okay? We're stitching on this line, and this is the unit we're going to be making, okay? We're going to be stitching this and then trimming away, and I'll show you what I'm going to do. Oops, I have to set my machine properly. I was using another stitch. There we go. So let me put my needle right just on the inside of that line, and I'm just going to stitch basically on the line, but one hair inside here, to allow for the turning, and then right off. Now, before we do anything, we're going to check that this is exactly the unit that we want. There we go. We want that exact unit there. But my point was, you don't have to do this. Now what we're going to do is we're just going to cut this right 1/4 inch away. But my point was, in doing the second line, is about 1/2 inch away, is you can create, I'll show you, a 1/2 square triangle by just stitching on that line. And now, not necessary, this is not necessary to do. By all means, if you just want to cut that away, that's fine. But now, when I go to cut this away from between those two lines, oops, my machine is funny. I have cut that away, and this is the unit we're working with right now. Okay, this is what we want, and there is my beautiful corners of this block here. But look what we've made with the scrap. We have made a lovely 1/2 square triangle. So you could use that 1/2 square triangle in another application. You could just roll it over to the dark side, cut off your things, and you have a lovely little 1/2 square triangle. Just a way that you don't waste your fabric. Now I'm going to go over, I'm going to roll this up, and I'm going to iron this, and then I'll be back to do this one. I have set my seam here, and I've gone over to my ironing board, and I've rolled that up to the dark side there, and I've taken my other piece that has been marked with the diagonal from corner to corner, and the marking on this one, you have to be careful because it's sort of mirror image, that this, if you are going to be making the 1/2 square triangle, that this is on the inside. So this is the marking, this diagonal to diagonal, corner to corner, is the one, oops, my machine keeps doing this, it has like a hair trigger, is the one that we're going to be doing. So I'm just squaring up this corner here, putting the corner right, and then I'm going to start there, the very top, and I'm going to be stitching right on the inside, basically on the line, but oops, gathering my fabric along, on that line, but one hair inside, just to allow for the turning. We've done this a lot now. And then right off. And then I'm going to come back to create that little 1/2 square triangle that maybe I can use somewhere else. I'm going to stitch on that line, which has been about a ½ inch away. This is an added bonus. If you don't want to do it, you don't have to, because now what we're going to be doing is we're cutting. You see, yeah, we're cutting right 1/4 inch away from both of those lines, if you're doing it that way. And there you again, another half square triangle. So in that case right there, I've made 2 half square triangles, and I've not wasted the fabric. And again, you want to see if this goes up, and there is our lovely unit right there. That's pretty good. It's not quite 1/4 inch, but that's okay. I have enough space right there, so I won't be stitching that off. I won't be cutting off that point when I go to sew it into my blocks. I have that seam up there, so I'm going to go set this seam, and I'm going to roll that up, and then that's our unit there. And then I'm going to finish. I'm going to take my other fabric. I'm going to do the exact same thing. I've marked my unit, my 5-inch square. I'm going to secure it, and then I'm going to stitch it. Put my needle down right inside that line, on the line, and stitch. Allow for that turning right off. And come back, and I'm going to stitch on that other line. Again, this is just sort of a little bonus thing, and then I'm going to clip between the 2 lines. There's a half square triangle unit, lovely, and then there is my lovely flying geese. And I'm just going to do the same. I'm going to go over. Now I do recommend that you set that seam and you press it up before you stitch this piece on, because you want this point up here to be nice and crisp, to be able to get your nice 1/4 inch seam up here. So that's what I recommend. You press that really nice. Okay, then I'll meet you over at my cutting board. Here are my 2 blocks. This is probably one of the easiest blocks we've made, because it's just a few seams, no real matching up. I have not quite a 1/4 inch, but I have it's fine. I'm not going to cut off my point. Now what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to put this over. It's basically a 2-patch, right? We're going to match it up. We're going to be very careful when I go to sew my seam here in the center. Being careful, scratch it together. I can see my stitches right there, and I will be very careful not to cut off my point. If I do, I do. But it's all been cut nice. It's been sewn lovely, and then I will have my flying geese unit, my flying geese block. So it's basically 1 seam. We're just doing a few bits. I'm going to go over. I will have set that seam, and I will come back and I'll show you my finished block. Easy peasy. So there you have, I've sewn this center seam. My fabrics are telling me where they want to go. My back looks lovely, and my front looks super. My point's pretty good. It's just slightly, just maybe a hair. And that's just slightly, but this is good. Let me just see. My 9.5 inch square. I just have a little tiny bit. I'm not going to trim that off though, because that's where my point is. Oh, wow, what's happened there? No, it's just okay. It's just okay. It's a little bit. I don't want to trim that off because I'll be cutting my point off. I don't know what happened there. It's fine. It looks awesome. My points are pointy. I sort of fussy cut, as you can see. I sort of fussy cut my stripe. Again, you won't be using your stripes, but I wanted to utilize my stripe, and this is the way I could have used my stripe. So there is our block number 13. A very easy 2 flying geese unit block. Yeah, so that's for block number 13. I hope you enjoyed that.